Hello, tech leaders. I'm Carol Palombini, fractional CHRO and tech leadership expert, and this is my podcast, Tech Minds Insights. My mission is to help tech companies grow with data-driven people management, leadership development, and emotional intelligence. In this show, I interview leaders and consultants working in the tech space to provide you with real-world insights into the challenges of leadership. If you want to be part of the show or have questions you want to ask my guests, send me a message or an email. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk to Giuseppe Turitto, who recently wrote an amazing article named Rethinking Return to the Office. The sudden return to the office policy caught many people by surprise. Some have moved further from their workplace, some found they were more productive and happy working from home. And now, out of the blue, companies are demanding people to return to the office without any reasonable explanation. Productivity can't be the one to blame. So, what's going on? Giuseppe, in your article, you said, and let me quote you, the debate is more than just about location, it's about trust, control, culture, and the evolving nature of work itself. I would love if you could talk about that, but please first introduce yourself to our guests and tell us a little bit of what you do.
Yes, Carol. Hi. First, thank you for the invitation to be part of your amazing podcast. And yes, what myself is Giuseppe, actually, Italian, American, and a little bit of Venezuelan. So, I belong to the war. Being an engineering leader for over 10 years by now. I've been
See,
managing remote teams since 2015, and so over 9 years of leading remote teams. Teams also local and remote local as well. So
that's
that makes
amazing.
me a
So,
little bit of an expert in this.
exactly. So you have a lot of experience. And have you worked with the two kinds of settings, the hybrid and the fully remote teams?
Yes, actually, at the moment, I'm working with a hybrid team. One team that part of the team is here located in Madrid, and I see them twice a week. And the rest of the team is located in South Africa, so we see each other via Zoom.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
one of the challenges that I have is trying to avoid being absorbed by the team in Madrid when we see each other in the office.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's one of the backlashes about having gone fully remote and then going back to the hybrid or in person for the hybrid style of working because some of these people cannot be at the office. So there's not just the matter of one team. We already have these distributed teams, and sometimes you're going to talk to someone, you're going to dislocate yourself, you're going to take hours to the office. And then when you get there, you're going to speak to people remotely anyway. You're going to start a video conference just as you would if you were home. And that brings a lot of dissatisfaction. I feel that employees don't understand, especially in tech, because tech people are really analytical. They're data oriented people. So they do not like command and control style of leadership, especially if they don't understand the reasons of why people are doing that. And it seems like companies just don't explain, they don't give a reasonable explanation for the return to the office movement.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the biggest problems I have found that most of the managers or high leadership are not explaining the real reasons why coming back. When they talk about, oh, we need to increase productivity, the truth of the matter is that productivity went up when we started to go in remote. Productivity was not an issue before COVID when the companies started to distribute teams around the world because of cost. So if that was not an issue at that moment, why today is an issue? That's something that's a question. And of course, anybody that's working in tech, they think about it because they say, I have teammates that they have been remote all this time and not since 2020. On the other side, the other question is about culture. But the culture also was distributed when they started to doing that. So what is the real reason behind?
Yes, exactly. And one of the reasons that you mentioned, and I think there are many reasons here. Okay, I've heard a lot of things. I've heard people giving reasons in real estate, like the offices, they want to keep the offices and they already have this contract. There are a lot of things about saying like pushing people into quitting for cost reduction, but there isn't a very true aspect about leadership resistance to change and resistance to a new style of working that I think it would be wonderful to talk about today because it's really relating to your article. So let's jump into the article and I'm going to put the link to the article in the comments, okay?
Yes, part of the article that I'm expressing, one of the things I am expressing in the article is that one of the major issues, especially at the high leadership levels, is that they don't understand how sometimes it can be work remote. They want to see people in their desk. They want to see them in front of the computer, thinking that that's the way that they will be more productive. And that goes back to the productivity itself. The truth of the matter is that today that doesn't work. We need to be evaluated by the results and not by the time that we are in the desk. So
Yes,
that's
I totally agree with this. And I've heard this from clients of mine and teams I've been working with that this command and control mindset is still very present even in the Gen Y and not just the baby boomers. So it's something I think it's really connected to organizational culture and how it worked for us when we were like internships and we were growing our path, our career path, how that worked for us. So it seems like leaders and managers, they are lacking new tools or new ways of seeing this work arrangement outside this command and control mindset. So they're still connected to what they've lived in the past. And I don't think that they have any like new models to go after so they can create like a remote first environment. One of the things that is most important, and I don't think companies are actually adopting this, is the remote first policy. So if you have a hybrid group, some of those people are in the office with you and some of them are not, each should be attending the meeting in their own computers. So otherwise, you will have people feeling left out and they will not be actually hybrid. They are a remote. So that creates a huge challenge for for leaders who still want to fit the in-person model into the hybrid arrangement.
yes, what you mentioned is super true. I'm actually want to, and I think you mentioned two different aspects. I will like to talk about the last one, which is basically if I'm asking to everybody that is in the office to be attending to the same meeting using their computers, the problem when we started doing that is that basically we're gonna start to see in these situations where people is talking and somebody else forgot to mute, and you hear those awful echoes because somebody's talking and the other one is in the same room. Still, it's going to be that situation where everybody's in the same desk and everybody that is remote feels that I don't belong to that group. That is where it hits to the first point, which is educational itself. It's about education of how do we manage these situations with remote teams. And it goes beyond of having these offsites where we invite the teams all together once a year. It's also having these virtual offsites where we start to share and where we start to having different conditions, allowing the people that they come to the office to sometimes work from home. If you have to take your kid to the doctor, you can stay home, no problems with that, because we are remote first. The biggest issue that we have today is that educational thing. We don't have models of leadership itself. All the education that comes from us, formal education, is books that were written on 1950s to 1980s, way before the revolution of having virtual on the internet and way before having the revolution of virtual meetings. What we are doing today was not even thought about it in the 80s. This is science fiction in the 80s. And today we are doing it normally. We are in different countries, different cities, and talking like nothing. So we start to see that problem of education. It's a change of mind that we need to do educational also when we become leaders. Most of the leadership that is today are leaders that were educated by other leaders that were behind, that they were also behind in the times. So has not been that shift. Sadly, many of these leaders are mostly in the high leadership, the ones that they are taking the decision of bringing people back home. The ones that they want to stay, the leaders, the mid-level leaders that they want to stay at home today, and they are not accepting this mandate. We don't have the power to say, no, this is our direction.
Yeah, and that's where your article talks about the middle management being like stuck in between this high executive decision, and but they're the ones who have to deal with employee dissatisfaction. They're in the middle of this, and they have to deal and they have to make this work. But sometimes they don't believe it themselves that they should be working hybrid or they should be calling people back to the office. I'm going to make a parenthesis here, just remind you about a project. I was head of HR at the time in 2014, and I was trying to implement the remote work for some of the departments. We would start with the sales team because that was the easiest. Why would they have to go to the office to then go somewhere else? So they could just go somewhere from their homes and they wouldn't have to stop. That doesn't make sense. And they would have the meetings, and it was like almost impossible to get this. And the mindset was that how will I know if they are actually working? So it's the trust issue. It's a lack of trust and the mindset that the employee will always be like wanting to take advantage from the employer. And then at the time, I went to this tech fair and they were like launching a lot of remote products. And these products they were surveilling systems. They were supposed to check how many times you've gotten out of the company system, how many times you checked the social media. And that was like absurd. I was like, this is going the wrong way. So it's totally the opposite. And you talk a lot about trust in your article. So how can you build trust if you're not actually seeing the person in front of you?
How do I build trust with somebody that is completely remote and I don't see it? That is a very interesting question. Building trust is actually super difficult. And at the end is also very easy. First, as a manager, I need to start with a high level of trust to the people that I'm hiring and the people that's working with me. They are all adults. They're going to present results. And then based on what the results are being presented is how I'm going to be calibrating my trust. I keep it high or I keep it low, or it's going to go low because of. Also comes when that's happening, I have to be, as a manager, I have to be very well trained in order to indicate the person, you are not performing as expected. This is what I was expecting. This is what I'm expecting from you. And this is what you are giving me. So I need to calibrate this situation with you. And I need to understand how I'm going to evaluate you. So when this happens, is very difficult situation. So those are the ways that you build a trust between you and the employees. You start with that big trust. I trust that you're going to be doing the work. And this is the work I'm expecting from you.
You have to take the first step as the leader in trust.
Of course. If not, it's impossible. If not, how I can build trust, especially when you are a new leader or when it's a new person in your team. How can I build that trust with somebody? If I'm going to start with the beginning of this person is not going to do his job, it's impossible really then to build that situation that it will be.
And your mindset, if that's occupying your mind that much, if that suspicion that the person is not going to perform the way that you agreed is filling your mind, then there's no space for distrust there, because you will always be like checking on possible things they've done wrong instead of thinking, how can I improve this work, or how much space this suspicious occupy in leaders' minds. And it's just a waste. And if you don't know how to build trust with your team remotely, you probably don't know how to do that in person. You just think you're building trust because you have the presence there, because they trust you because you're there, but you don't actually know. So when they say that people are not working from home as much as they are in person, it's just the illusion of seeing people in front of you using their computers that make you feel like they're working more, but they could be like doing nothing there. They could be like planning their next vacation, and you won't even know that. But what I see, and you also talk on your article, is that you have to be a better leader in remote settings. So when you are in an in-person setting, it's easy to look like a good manager, but you're not actually good at leading and managing practices like in motivating and retaining your talents and improving productivity. But when it goes to the remote setting, you must know how to do that pretty well, because you don't have this to cover for you, this in-person presence to cover for you.
Exactly, exactly. I would like to go back to the fact of seeing people doing their work, and probably the audience and you are too young, but I still remember playing video games where they had a special set of keywords that were showing a simulation of Excel at the time. And which that led us to think that this was for people playing this video game at the office and just showing to the boss. When I hear my boss coming, I show that I'm working in Excel. And it was a big BS. How many times have you turned your head and see your coworker checking Facebook at a time? So it was kind of they are wasting their time. Yes, when you are working in a remote setting, you have to be really good, understanding how to gain that confidence and see what they are doing is important, because when you are in person, it's very easy to see, oh, he's doing the job, he's working in there. I can see that he's working hard in something. But when you are remote, you need to start to really indicate, this is what I'm expecting from you, and this is how I'm going to measure you. And you need to understand really well the tools to make sure that you are evaluating the person correctly. And it's not for the person is sitting there or the person is talking more or less during the meetings.
Yeah, and it's also an opportunity for introverted people to show more their work than the extroverted, because in in-person settings, they always favor extroversion. Because you're there, you're talking, and it seems like you're doing a lot because you're talking a lot and communicating what you're doing. But if you actually have these KPIs, which I think most leaders don't have, you will actually see who actually does the work. And you can actually save the talents that you actually need.
Yes, exactly. And actually, you reminded me a situation where I had somebody that was so shy that she really never participated, even online. She never participated on the meetings. I had to work her out of her shell and became a super leader inside in the virtual meetings. But when we were in person, she was back into her shyness. And it was okay. We all accepted her. But some people were believing that she was not doing more than what she was doing. I had to show these KPIs and say, look, this is what she's doing. She has been effective here, here, here. And that's how I helped her to even get promoted. Because before that, it was like, she is not the one that's talking. It's the other person talking. Yeah, but he's the one talking and he's not the one doing.
Exactly. And so It's kind of a win-win that leaders learn more about leadership strategies and leadership strategies, not about the management strategies, about leadership, because it's about soft skills, about emotional intelligence. It's how you become more emotionally intelligent to deal with the situation, to get out of your command and control mindset and move into this trust building mindset, and also to understand that you need to change the way you communicate. Instead of like just talking what you're supposed to do or being there and just touching the person on the shoulder and asking, okay, do you need any type of help? How can you actually approach your employees to build this trust, to know that if they need any help in a hybrid setting? How are you dealing with this?
How do I deal with this? Well, the first thing is that is no meeting more important than a chat with my members, with my team. If any of them needs to talk to me immediately, it doesn't matter if I'm in a meeting with the CEO of the company. I will ask, sorry, I need to take care of this situation. And I will jump directly to talk to this person. Sometimes I have to say, can I contact you later? And immediately, as soon as I finish, I jump to them. Yes, for some leaders or CEOs, probably they will hate me because I do that. But the truth of the matter is that to me, in order to respond to them, I have to respond to my team. So they are going to grow and going to deliver their best. So I
So
cannot wait.
so it's like showing them how available you are, so that you are going, they are your first priority. So it's
Exactly.
making your through your communication that
Yes.
they are your priority.
Yes. I don't have any, my first priority is helping them to do their best. Once I do that, then I'm effective. My team is effective and it's causing impact in the entire company. That for any CEO or any C-level should be a high reward because they say, I'm making this impact. And how can I make that? Through my team. And they do it because they know that I am there for them.
It's like a servant leadership mindset where you're there to serve them and to remove the obstacles for their work so they can do the best they can. So it's a very big shift in mindset. And I think this is harder for people in tech, than for people in other areas. Is people in tech are too task oriented. So they are really worried about each task instead of a result of that task. And they want to oversee how the person is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Tech leaders are usually very concerned about the how. When I talk to my clients, I always get the feeling that in this imaginary ideal world, they would have clones working for them.
Yes, it will be so nice having a clone or having a robot that we tell them what to do and they do it. But the truth of the matter is that that's not going to really happen. And the beauty of having somebody that brings their own ideas, it will not happen if we have clones of robots or multiple agents using ChatGPT in order to produce our work. So that's the beauty of having people working with us and working us with people. So that's amazing. One of the things I wanted to say is that when we are there, first, I don't like the servant leadership word because it has been overused and really right now it's kind of like nobody understands what the hell is servant leadership. They use it just because it sounds beautiful, but the truth of the matter is they are not doing it. When you are more of a leader that looks more for the impact and what's the value that we are bringing is when you really start to understand the value of having KPIs, of the value of having a good OKRs and a good set of directions. And then it's when you start to working with the team with that. It's also very important as a leaders to understand that it's the team also who's going to set up those KPIs. You work with the team to set the KPIs, not that you indicate these are the KPIs that you're going to achieve.
And
If you
that's
do
how you
that,
get commitment, right?
yes, If you start to go top down and say, these are the KPIs I want you to achieve, you basically are imposing and you're losing the trust of the team on you.
Yeah.
Then when you need them to be back in the office for whatever reason, they will not go.
They will not go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or they will resist. It's like they will go, but only their bodies is there. Right
Exactly.
now, their minds are not there. They're not committed. It's like whenever I'm going to give a workshop or training in a company, and I always say, don't make this mandatory. You just want people that want to be here. It's our job to make them want to be here. Because when you have a mandatory workshop and mandatory training program, there's always that person who they don't see value, either because sometimes they are really busy and they don't have time for that, or because they don't feel the needs themselves for that training. But the fact is that that person can ruin the entire setting, the entire dynamic of the work. So getting this commitment, it's so much more productive than actually doing mandatory things. So you have to be here. No, you want to be here. You want to be in this meeting because this meeting we are going to talk about the KPIs that you decided are important for us. And now we are going to measure them. I've always done this, like building KPIs with my team and HR team. And it made feedback so much easier when I started to do that, because we already had the KPIs. Everyone agreed to them. Everyone knew and could follow them easily because the board was there and I was updating it constantly so people could see them. So transparency also builds trust. Whenever we get to the point of the formal feedback or the meeting of the feedback, the first thing I asked was, how do you see your performance? Usually I didn't have to say anything. Usually what I had to say was something like, you're being too hard on yourself, take it easy. Most of the time, you don't have to tell them you're not doing this or you should be doing that. It's just so easy. The relationship is easy because in Portuguese we have a saying, what was agreed is never expensive.
Exactly. What's agreed is never expensive.
It's never expensive. It's like it doesn't cost too much because that was the agreed. So we just have to do what we agreed on. I don't know why people resist so much in building KPIs, not just for the productivity, the ones that are most obvious, but
Because it's
also
not
for
easy.
well-being.
Because it's not easy setting KPIs. Because you need to understand exactly what's the work of your team, what is exactly expected that your team delivers, and then based on that, how do I going to measure those values that I need?
And how they
There
don't make
is when
conflict. Yeah. How they don't get in conflict with each other.
Exactly. And there is where we start to, it's the two philosophies, or I don't measure anything because I don't know how to do it, or it's too much, or I measure things that they have no value. And it's a third philosophy, which is I measure too much. I grab all the data points that I have and I put them together, but then I don't know how to use those values. So I have too much, overwhelmed. I don't use anything. I don't create KPIs because I have too much data. The ones that they take the data that everybody's using, oh, because Agile is using burn down. But you're not doing Agile. You're not doing Scrum. You're doing something else. So you need a different set of KPIs, or your team cannot follow those set of KPIs that were set up by another company, because those were specifically for their setting, not for your team. And the ones that they don't measure, that's it. It's over.
And I think it's also related to this idea that the leader must know. The leader must know the KPIs. And instead of learning what are and they spend a huge amount of time learning and trying to figure out what are the best KPIs, and start trying to learn how to create a co-creative meeting that you can build that with your team. It's like it's so hard to make tech leaders understand that they have to let go of the task-oriented mindset and they have to grow into the people mindset, in the people-oriented mindset. The key to solving all these challenges is with your team, through your team.
It is when you are in the trenches, when you understand how's the battle. It is when you go straight to the place where is the problem, where you understand how big is the problem. It's not from far away. Battles are not win fighting from the offices. So you need to understand those details and be closer. And it's a team who's closer to the problems. They can tell you, look, we never will be measured, or that point, it makes no sense. You are trying to measure us because of this, but we cannot achieve it, or it will never be achieved. I cannot ask my team to what is the old recovering time, because my team is not doing anything that requires recovering time. Actually, that should be another team that is the one that needs to be measured by that. My team needs to be measured by what's the workload that we can manage at this moment.
Yeah,
So
that's true. So moving on, like KPIs are super important. And I think really agree that people should focus on building it with their teams and not just hard skills KPIs, not just performance KPIs, but also other KPIs related to well-being at work, psychological safety,
super
level of
important.
ideas and innovation. So you have to get a good reading of your leadership also. So
that's super important.
how many companies are actually taking leadership assessments, behavior-based leadership assessments, where you can get in the end the results saying what type of behavior you're not performing and what type of behavior you should be performing according to your team and peers?
In my experience, very little.
Yeah.
Probably the big ones are the ones doing it, and I don't really know how they are using that information. Sometimes it's just information that gets seen but never acted on,
Like
which is a waste
most
of,
data.
so it has been a waste of time. And because of that, then high leadership cannot take clear decisions or clear ideas.
Yeah, because they don't have good data regarding leadership and management. I totally agree. So now moving on, I cannot end this podcast without asking you about the juniors. One of the things that is a challenge for me to think, it's the remote, the fully remote or even the hybrid remote setting for juniors. Are they the ones that are missing the most from not having a full in-person work environment?
Look, yes, definitely the juniors are the ones that they are suffering a little bit more than the seniors. But these are things that it can be solved also having a good management and a good way to create environments, create mentorship. You take a mid-level or a senior and you have to train them to become mentors, and they will become mentors of the juniors. You pair them together and you say, you're a junior and this person is going to be your guide. He's going to be the person for you to go and work with him instead. And this person will learn how to become a mentor as well. And believe me, once you become a mentor of somebody, you gain that beauty of, I want to mentor others and learn how to do the work. So because it happened to me.
Oh,
So
really?
yes, that happened to me. And the beauty, once you start to doing that role in the mentorship ball, it really doesn't matter where the juniors are. They can be in Timbuktu. They are perfect. You can perfectly work with them and they will grow with you because are mentors
Yeah.
around the world.
I super agree with that. And I was talking to a CEO for a tech company who got the prize for the best work for women, best place for women to work. And he has this amazing strategy that I think could help many juniors or people who need help. So they have these color codes for the chat. And if you need help, you have the certain color, I don't know, like yellow. So yellow is the I need help color, and it just put it there, and people would just jump in. So if I have some time to help you, I will jump in and understand what help you need. So you always know everyone who needs help, and the CEO does that himself. Sometimes he puts the yellow one because he needs help, so he shows that how common this is. And he told me that this works pretty well for juniors. I think it's a very good tip for people wanting to find solutions, because there are creative solutions. That's what I mean. He got to the solution with his team.
It is a great idea, and actually, I will propose to my team if they want to apply this solution. I had been working in a complete different setting when this was in person a long time ago, where we used to have. When my manager realized that he used to like to work up to 3 o'clock in the morning. He was that kind of person, and he's still my mentor, by the way. So I really enjoy working with him. But 3 o'clock in the morning, receiving an email from your manager, and you wake up in the morning and seeing that email, you are super stressful. So he basically started to realizing that that was a problem, and he was creating stress on his team. So he started to adding little tags on the subject saying this can be responded tomorrow. Read it, but don't worry about it. You can take your time to respond, or don't even look at it if you are in a weekend. So that was a good thing for us, and that I try to apply for my teams.
And that's communication. People just
Yep,
think about
exactly.
communication, just about the verbal communication, but this is a pretty intelligent way of communicating, right? I love
Yes,
that.
beautiful ways and simple, beautiful ways to communicate with people. I need help. And for juniors, specifically if they are working in remote environments, that's super helpful. Are
Giuseppe,
companies that they are going hybrid, but when is a problem with juniors that they belong to a team that is in another country, and he's a complete different country, and this person is going to an office, but he's interacting with other teams. Really, this person is not learning about the dynamics of your team unless you start to making these mentorship programs, and you start to making these virtual hangouts, virtual open offices. This is something that I do, open door office on specific day. I have 2 hours of my day where I allow them to jump in and talk about anything they want.
so getting a hook from this line of thinking, I would like to close this
Mhm.
podcast
Yeah.
with an advice. What advice would you give for those managers who don't agree with the return to the office policy, but they do have to enforce that? It's not their choice. For instance, people would have to go 3 times a week to the office. They have 2 times remote working. What would you advise them?
Listen your team and be transparent to the team. That's simple like that. Be transparent. Tell them this is a decision that needs to be done because of, and also listen to them, listen what they were going to say. And from there, you're going to get to an agreement. Sometimes you could get to an agreement that, yes, we're going to have to come 3 times per week, but sometimes it's okay that you work remote. And these are going to be the days that we're going to come. It's not that you come when you want. So
Sure.
that's
And
something that
also
I
something
will recommend.
what I on top of that, what I would advise is make the office moment something worth it, not something that you could do from home.
Of
Think of
course,
activities and that are really
of course.
bonding and important for people to be there and
Yes.
honor their time there.
When they come to the office because we have a meeting that is, it will be nice if everybody's in the office. I tend to prepare after hours, or sometimes just cater lunch for them. And that's something that even if it's in the company not paying, I will pay from my pocket, because I want that the team feels the love of coming to the office.
Yes, because if you are in a leadership mindset, okay, you have to come to terms that you didn't like this decision, but you have to follow through with this. You decided to stay in the company, you decided that this is the best thing for you. So you have to give a positive outlook for your team. You cannot just join the complaining group and keep on complaining about this is not productive and you're going to end up losing important talents. So first, I think you have to make peace with that, understand what's the best that you can do with this, give some time for your team to complain, give to vent out, but then try to push this positive outlook of everyone. So this is what we have now. How can we make this the best that we can make?
Look, when you join the complainer group, it's not helping you as a manager or as a leader, because really they feel like, yes, they will, you think they will feel you are sharing their pain or their points of view, but they actually are looking at you and they say, well, then if you don't like it, then why we have to do it? If you are also complaining, why you don't take an action? Because I'm expecting an action from you as my leader.
You're supposed to inspire me. You're supposed to motivate me, right? Because that's
Exactly.
the role of the leader. And I think some leaders really forget that it's their role to motivate and inspire people.
Yes, exactly. And when you enforce them too hard as well, then you're going to start to finding those employees that they say, I want to work from home. So I'm going to call in sick because I don't want to go to the office today.
And then the trust goes down the
The
drain.
trust goes away
Yeah.
completely. And if you join the band of the complainers, the trust from them to you is going away. And if you enforce them, the trust from them to you is going away. And also your trust with them is going away. So we need to be in the middle, help them,
Transparent.
inspire them, but be transparent and listen to their complaints.
Sure. Giuseppe, thank you very much for your
Thank you, Carol,
participation
for your
here, for
invitation.
all your articles. If you're watching this, follow Giuseppe on LinkedIn. And Giuseppe, please tell us how, if people want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
They can reach me through my LinkedIn, which is very simple. And with your link, they will find it. And yes, lately I haven't been writing anything, but soon I will start again.
But we made this podcast, so it goes for mixing with the other content that you already have.
Thank
And
you.
they are all amazing. You write very well. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's not my forte, but I try my best.
And you get there. So thank you very much, Giuseppe. And if you're listening to this or watching us on YouTube and you want to be part of the show, just send me a message, or I'll see you on the next episode of Tech Minds Insights. Bye.
Bye.